Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Welcome to our press conference today. Of course, in our notification, we indicated that we will have two statements. The first one today will be by Honorable Moses Travatas on health. He is also our spokesperson on health, so we'll speak to that. And after which we will have a statement by Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, newly elected first deputy political leader of the Central Labour Party. We're also joined by our second deputy political leader and Denry North MP, Honorable Sean Edward, and Senator Honorable Gideon Ferdinand, who is also our spokesperson on education. So thank you for coming, and we shall have our first statement now by Honorable Moses Travatas.
Thank you very much. Good morning, members of the media. Let me take this opportunity as chairman of the St. Lucia Labour Party to congratulate the Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire on his recent election to the position of First Deputy Leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. I also take this opportunity to congratulate the Honorable Sean Edward, the Parliamentary Representative for Denry North, on his re-election to the position of the Second Deputy Leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Dear members of the media, over the last few weeks, two major incidents have taken place in St. Lucia which highlight the severity of the crisis facing our health sector. Firstly, the visit of the USNS Comfort, a United States naval medical ship. As a party, we are cognizant of the fact that St. Lucians are suffering and are pleading with the United Workers' Party administration to make proper health care a priority. A vast majority of St. Lucians believe that we are now experiencing the worst quality of health care in our history. Yes, we have had challenges before. We remember the efforts of former policymakers and even the laments of Calypsonians like the mighty invader. But never before have we had it so bad. Any parliamentarian who holds constituency office hours and is in touch with his or her constituents will tell you that our people are desperate for better health care, and so we expected that thousands of St. Lucians would rush to receive free medical care. As a party, we were very clear that once the Ministry of Health had cleared the ship, we would not discourage St. Lucians from seeking free and advanced health care. Our people are crying out for urgent and better health care. However, to see St. Lucians turn out in their thousands was indeed further evidence that St. Lucia's healthcare crisis is worsening at an even faster rate than once thought. Our people look desperate and broken, having to line up from before daybreak and some even overnight to be able to get a chance to be diagnosed and treated. It was painful for all to experience. But equally, the Prime Minister's reaction when he visited the ship demonstrated his insensitivity, as his tears were for the cameras and crew of the visiting ship, clearly for photo ops. For it was the thousands who were waiting for hours and who are still begging this government to place their health care first, who required that solidarity. How much more callous and disrespectful can the Prime Minister be? We don't accept that the Prime Minister was out of state and therefore unavailable to be in solidarity with his own people. He should have been here because we believe that healthcare has become a crisis which has in quick time become this government's #1 disaster. The same Prime Minister who was smiling by the starting gates of the racetrack a mere 100 meters from the deteriorating stadium is now crying, implying that it is so hard to be able to improve the state of the health sector. Why cry, Prime Minister, Why the tears? You could have done better. You promised to do better. Instead, you kept, in your own words, holding on. Holding on for what? For Health City Cayman? To privatize healthcare? You are holding on while our people are dying. The truth is that when the United Workers' Party came to power, they found an implementation plan for the opening of the OKEU. They also found a team well in place for the implementation of the plan. This team was headed by Dr. Stephen King. Instead of proceeding to ensure immediate opening of the OKEU, the government decided to dismiss Dr. King and put aside the plan. Today, over 3 years later, the government has had to go back to the same implementation plan and employ some of the same people from 2016 to oversee the transition to the OKEU. The latest visit by officials of the European Union showed clearly that this government has not cared enough about the suffering of St. Lucians. Not only did our Prime Minister embarrass all St. Lucians, he also misdirected the officials who evidently saw through his commonplace rhetoric. His excuses of a bad air conditioning unit and a main switch problem should be dumped, just as they were dumped by the European Union officials, of course based on their comments. How embarrassing it was for the government of St. Lucia to be given a score of 2 out of 10 for work on the opening of the OKEU? Yes, 2 out of 10. Everyone knows that this is a failing grade, a terrible grade. Never in our history has a prime minister been so ridiculed for his incompetence. Not John Compton, not Sir Alan Louisy, not Sir Vaughan, not Dr. Kenny Anthony, or any other. Prime Minister Alan Chastanet has failed the EU and he has failed the people of St. Lucia. He is clearly the most incompetent Prime Minister that we have ever had, and he heads the most corrupt, most arrogant, and most inept government in our history. What's worse is the callousness of the Prime Minister and his ministers. There has been an explosion of sympathy for the people suffering from the crisis in our healthcare sector. The crisis has manifested itself with an increasing number of photographs and videos in the public domain which expose the worsening physical conditions at both St. Jude and Victoria hospitals. The public has not seen any evidence of the government rushing to provide relief to the thousands of St. Lucians who access these hospitals, not even if the relief was temporary. Patients have been seen in pictures on the floor of one of our hospitals with IV attached on a piece of cardboard. Reportedly, this and other cases like it were due to an inadequate number of beds. Further, there have been weekly reports of shortages, basic medication, beds, implements, and other materials at the St. Jude and Victoria hospitals. Patients continue to be asked to take samples to private labs and to carry items to the hospitals for the comfort and treatment of their loved ones. It is even more alarming that the Health Minister, Senator Mary Isaac, continues to be largely absent in the fight for better health care for the benefit of all St. Lucians. The Minister has not addressed the key and burning concerns of St. Lucians and has not provided the leadership which a sector in major crisis requires and deserves. The minister's utterances have been first to deny the pictures were representative of conditions at Victoria Hospital, then, as more pictures were circulated, to state that it is not the first time people suffer at Victoria Hospital, and it has always happened. What a pathetic and uncaring statement by a health minister. It is way past time for the Minister for Health to be replaced. The Ministry of Health needs urgently, like yesterday, a leader who by his or her actions and demeanor shows that he or she understands that we are in a major crisis and that people, according to doctors from all walks of life, are actually dying because of the worsening healthcare situation. What else do we need to hear before we get a change? The St. Lucia Labour Party calls on all St. Lucians to continue to raise their voices and to take other legal actions to bring to the attention of this government the need to refocus the efforts of the government in the direction of the well-being of all St. Lucians, especially those in need of health services. The St. Lucia Labour Party reminds the Prime Minister that this healthcare crisis in St. Lucia is more important than the horses that will be given brand new air-conditioned facilities, which will be paid for by money belonging to all St. Lucians. The St. Lucia Labour Party continues to regard this rapidly deteriorating healthcare crisis as the biggest threat to the well-being of St. Lucians and will intensify all efforts to cause the government to stop spending our money on wasteful extravagance while St. Lucians suffer and our relatives and friends continue to die. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Lucia. We will now have a statement by Honorable Dr. Dennis.
Thank you very much, members of the media. The St. Lucia Labour Party calls on the shareholders and directors of the Bank of St. Lucia to review the installation of Mr. Frank Myers as chairman of the bank at the behest of the UWP government. The Labour Party notes that the Bank of St. Lucia, after facing difficult periods, is only now beginning to show signs of a recovery. We are therefore immensely concerned that Mr. Myers, an immensely divisive political person and also a political operative and public face of the ruling United Workers' Party, could undermine the continued growth and confidence which appears to be returning to the bank. Mr. Myers is best known as a sycophant who has extensively used Facebook and other social media platforms to attack and abuse the leadership, members, and supporters of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and indeed anyone who opposes the Alan Shastley government. He is famously known for supporting the government's intention to close and demolish the Cassis Comprehensive Secondary School, claiming that it is vulnerable to a tsunami event. Even as he advocates the school's closure, he supports the use of the area for hotel development. He shamelessly reinforced such a claim openly on Facebook and mainstream media. The St. Lucia Labour Party believes that the integrity of the banking system depends on trust, confidence, and confidentiality, and the installation of Mr. Myers would not augur well. Accordingly, the following questions must be asked. 1. What guarantees are there that persons who are opposed to the government will not be victimized for loan applications which are placed before the board? What guarantees are there that information relating to persons who oppose the government and brought before the board will not be used against them? 3. What safeguards are there that the decision-making of the board will be free of political considerations and interference when someone who has been so openly bitter and divisive is the chairman? 4. What guarantees are there that customers' confidential information would not be accessed by the chairman for political purposes? There is already on record a previous example of this by another UWP operative? And 5, what guarantees are there that the new chairman will not use his position to influence the board to loan monies to government for projects and initiatives which may not otherwise be assessed as viable? The Senatorial Labour Party is further concerned that Mr. Frank Myers is also the deputy chairman of the NIC. A recent decision by that entity to finance the Carbot project has raised concerns about the use of St. Lucian's pension funds. This dual role creates an incestuous relationship which can cause undue influence on the decisions of the NIC. The NIC is probably the largest depositor in the Bank of St. Lucia, and therefore every effort must be made not to allow decisions to be taken that can unduly affect the use of pension funds. The Labour Party believes that the integrity of the banking system depends on trust, confidence, and confidentiality, and the installation of Mr. Myers could only serve to undermine this. The Bank of St. Lucia should never be politicized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hilaire. We shall now have your questions on the statements presented.
And of course, we have the second deputy leader and the spokesperson for education, so you may wish to ask questions relating to sports and as well as education.
Okay?
Is there,
Go ahead.
is there an example of a deal as to why you believe Mr. Frank Myers is not the person for that position?
Yeah. Well, as the statement said, it's not a question of whether he is professionally qualified or he has any competence. Think about it. There you have somebody who's been on Facebook daily abusing, attacking, and maybe if you look at it from the other side, supporting the United Workers' Party openly with no hesitation, pushing a party political line, quarreling with people on Facebook, arguing with people on Facebook, pushing a political line. And there are people on Facebook who support their party and they engage in debate. He's a divisive person on social media. And then you hear he becomes chairman of the bank where you have your money placed. You must feel uncomfortable if you're a person who opposed the government. That somebody as divisive. And think back in our history.
So in other words, you're not attacking his profession.
No. I'm not attacking his professional qualifications.
Divisive according to you on Facebook, that disqualifies him in your opinion.
He's a divisive political figure and a very partisan at that. And he's not chairing a statutory corporation like SLASCO or WASCO. He's chairing a bank that depends on confidence, confidentiality, and trust. When you put your money in that bank, you want to be assured that nothing will be used against you. All your business dealings will be kept secret. And there you have somebody who is proclaimed to be what he has proclaimed to be, chairing that bank and in charge of that. That cannot give certain people comfort in this country.
Mr. Chairman, we have just been elected the deputy committee elected. Can you tell us the significance of that? And
but are there any other questions on that? Maybe we could, let's finish it.
I wanted to ask because I do not have a clear understanding of how bank chairpersons are appointed. I'm assuming that it would be some sort of shareholder decision or some sort of internal decision in the bank. Do you have any evidence to suggest that there was, influence or pressure by the political directorate to make this appointment?
Well, we have reason to believe that. You'll recall 2 sittings of Parliament ago, the government came for permission to buy more shares that were previously held by Republic Bank. And Parliament approved for government to increase its shareholding. So government increases shareholding so they can have an additional director on the bank. NIC also supposed to increase their shareholding. And then Mr. Myers then comes in now as a new director representing NIC. So both the government and NIC increase their shares, they get more directors. And then he comes in as a new director for NIC, and then he is installed or selected by the shareholders, of which the government of Central and NIC are the 2 largest blocks, to be the chairman. He was not a director before, He just became a new director as the top-up took place. and then he becomes chairman. Now, any rightful person would think there is somebody who was not even a director. Government increases its shares, NIC increases its shares, and then he becomes the second director for NIC, and then he becomes chairman. And this is a politically divisive person. And that for us is a fundamental point, that the bank, and the Bank of Century is like our national bank. In many ways, it's like the majority shareholder in St. Lucian's. And that person becomes chairperson. And you're really starting to wonder, how comfortable are we with the politicization of the bank in that nature?
You mentioned that there was a previous example of a breach of confidential information at the bank. Would you care to?
No, I wouldn't give further details. No, I wouldn't.
Is there perhaps concern that with Mr. Myers as the chairman of BOSL, that perhaps some unscrupulous behavior might be exposed on the part of certain people in society who support the SLP?
I have no idea about that, but anybody who's involved in any behavior which is illegal should be exposed.
Does the professional or any individual, by extension, have a right to their partisan beliefs, so that doesn't preclude them from getting positions like what you're talking about?
Well, you can have your partisan beliefs. There's nothing wrong in that. But we're saying somebody who's been politically as divisive as he has been. I don't know, go on Facebook and read some of the comments that this individual has made and the political agenda here. How can you be chairing a bank where you have access to everybody with a depositor, confidential information? I feel very uncomfortable, to be honest with you, and I know a lot of solutions are uncomfortable about it.
That's not being part of the boss in our history. That
Where?
persons who side with a particular.
We've never had a chairman of Bank of St. Lucia who is a political operative. Like where? Like where? Yeah, but that's a statutory corporation. That's what I'm saying. Senator Mangal is chair of National Housing Corporation. You know, you have people who are chair of statutory corporations, and they are there to push the government policy agenda. In fact, that's the point. The brilliant point you've just made. You put political people to push your policy agenda. So you're actually agreeing and reinforcing my point. You put political people to chair corporations and to head boards to push your policy position. So if he's a political operative and is made to chair Bank of St. Lucia, are you telling me you agree that he is placed there to push the agenda?
But shouldn't his partisan beliefs, that should not preclude him from position? From a position?
No, it's not your partisan beliefs. Everybody has a right to have their partisan beliefs. I'm talking about being a political operative.
Anybody could just be presented based on what they hold politically, no?
No, I'm saying to you again, this is a bank. It has never happened before in the history. The standard is there. You do not politicize the chairmanship of the bank. To give people comfort and confidence that their personal financial information will never be used or accessed against them.
What proof do you have that he's incapable of separating his political beliefs from his profession?
Of course, I'm not Jesus Christ, my brother. I have no proof that he's incapable of doing it. But I'm saying to you, if you see signs of potential conflict, if you see signs of a situation which can raise question, it has to be highlighted. I cannot predict now that he has the capacity to separate the two. I am telling you, we're very uncomfortable that somebody who's been such a political operative, somebody who's been so divisive, is now placed in that position. It makes us very uncomfortable, and a lot of solutions very uncomfortable.
Do you think that legislation should be put in place to address that issue, since you're troubled by it?
But I mean, it's just a question of ethical behavior. I mean, I don't know that you can pass a law that says the chairman of Bank of St. Lucia should never be. It's a private corporation. Government has to have governance that's in keeping with some basic, practices and procedures.
Yeah, speaking about the law, so the chairman, with DSH, if the SLK and you guys are expecting to be back in power by the next election, how would you deal with DSH? Because we've heard
Yeah.
Let me deal with.
But Jerry, you.
Just a second. Any more questions on the statements?
Okay, Jerry.
Any more questions on the statements presented? No? Okay. So Jerry had a question. So
No, but that question is on health.
He's on health.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
fine.
Health.
Sure.
Yeah.
On health.
Yes,
Okay.
you did mention DSH in your statement. I do have a question on that.
I mentioned horses.
Yes. Yes, so how would
Horses in air-conditioned
Yes.
facilities, yes.
How would an SMP administration deal with the DSH issue? What policy positions would you guys take if and when you get into power?
Well, clearly we have stated before that we do not support DSH as presented by the current so-called investor and supported by the United Workers' Party. We have rallied St. Lucians against it. We have had massive demonstrations against what is happening in that form in Vieux Fort. And when we regain government, clearly we are going to follow through on what we have said that is wrong about it. We cannot accept that one individual has been given so much of our land, including the beaches. We fought against it. We have heard the government has made statements to indicate that Sandy Beach is no longer part of the DSH. We still don't believe them, and therefore we continue to keep that subject in the media and in the minds of our people. We continue to mobilize our people against what's happening. It is even when you add what is happening with DSH to the crisis in healthcare, you can see how disrespectful, how arrogant, how this government behaves. For a prime minister to go and smile at the starting gates for horse racing, and less than 100 meters away you have patients who are crying out for bed sheets and for medication. It says clearly that the priority of the government is really off and not with the people of St. Lucia. It is with horses. We have heard that the Prime Minister and the government, we've heard rumors that there may be purchases of horses and other implements for the horse race, and we are still hoping that this is not true. So clearly the government's priority is wrong, and DSH and horses will not be our first priority when we have that kind of healthcare crisis.
Would you cancel the deal or any of those practices you have an issue with?
I cannot tell you what we would do. We would certainly review all arrangements that this government has made with, whether it be DSH, whether it be Cabot, whether it be using people's pension funds to give rich people, and whether it is what they're doing, where they want to do St. Jude, building a new hospital, which they're saying which will take 16 to 18 months, and they waited over 3 years to announce that they can actually build a hospital in 18 months while people suffered. All arrangements that will cause St. Lucians to lose our land, our patrimony, and our St. Lucianness. The St. Lucia Labour Party will review every single one of them.
And Mary Isaac's statement, you said you had an issue with it. Yes, and you referred to a statement as pathetic and uncaring regarding Victoria and the situation there, but hasn't honestly has not been the situation for decades.
I need to ask you, do you feel that you have a Minister for Health who has taken charge of this healthcare crisis?
I'm not seeing that, period.
Thank you very much. So that is the response. That's the response. Thank you very much.
On health? Sure. So one of the
Health.
On health, sir?
Health.
Yes, sir. Do you think that the visit of the U.S. comfort and the state of health care in St. Lucia are coincidental? Especially the enthusiasm that the public demonstrated for that ship. And I'm saying against that background, do you think that it was a coincidence that that ship arrived in St. Lucia provided there?
Well, I don't know if it's coincidence, but it is very clear that the people of St. Lucia are desperate. The people of St. Lucia are looking for answers in relation to their health care, improving their own personal health situation. When we go around the country, we have been having a number of town hall meetings, and the people of St. Lucia are saying to us that they're afraid to go to the hospitals. They're afraid to go to the hospitals, and therefore, if a ship or any other facility comes to St. Lucia, I'm sure the people of St. Lucia will try to access healthcare. And St. Lucians are increasingly growing wary of the government's attention to healthcare. And what we saw, the thousands of St. Lucians we saw out there, is clearly an indication that our healthcare system is failing them even more.
I'm saying that whoever controls the ship, U.S. government, must have known that we had a crisis.
Well, the response of people to the ship clearly shows that people are desperate and they need assistance.
Dave, if I should just add to what the chairman of the party has said in relation to your question, I think what I was able to glean out of the whole situation is that somebody in government, whereas they will not make the admission publicly in St. Lucia, has gone overseas and admitted to people that we have a crisis that is beyond us, and please do something to help us. I think that is the basis on which you saw the ship in St. Lucian waters. Also, you said that there was enthusiasm on the part of St. Lucians to seek medical attention. I think it was more desperation than enthusiasm. And what this has done is that it has underscored what the Labour Party has been saying for a long time. There is a health crisis confronting this country that this current administration is not capable of handling.
Any more questions on statements?
Now over to Big Jerry.
Okay, so you're just re-elected.
Yeah.
Elected.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the party and moving forward?
Well, I think the party constitutions require that every 3 years there are elections held for the post of deputy political leaders. And the last election was in July 2016, and 3 years later we had the election. I think in many ways the Labour Party is preparing itself for general elections. The Labour Party is putting together a team of candidates, an exciting team of candidates. And I believe, and I'm sure other comrades can comment on that, I've never known the Labour Party to have so many persons interested in running for seats. Sometimes you have a good headache, and that is in fact one of the good headaches, that you have so many people in constituencies wanting to be candidates, and we will put forward an exciting slate of candidates. We're also working on our policy positions on different matters. We know what happened in 2016. We know where the party fell short. We've seen what happened in the last 3.5 years and the deficiencies that exist in this country. And like the health situation, we had a health challenge before us. Now we have a health crisis. And we are putting together the policy positions, and the party is also consolidating itself to put forward the best package, whether it's policy, leadership, and candidates for us to win the next general elections. And I think you have to see it in that vein, as the party moving forward and preparing itself is not a diminution of anybody, is not a desecration of anybody. It is the party putting forward the best configuration for it to win the next general elections.
They are within the truth that basically it's a stepping stone for you to take over the party. What do you say to this? Because
there's no taking over the party. There's no taking. I first attended a Labour Party conference when I was 17 years old. Somebody took me to a Labour Party conference. From 1996, I have been centrally involved in the activities of the party. As somebody involved in the strategy committee, attaché to the Prime Minister, PS Youth and Sports, where I led the initiatives for sports. I've been involved in policy making, in election campaigning, and eventually I became a candidate. This is my party. I'm a child of the Labour Party. I grew up in the St. Lucia Labour Party. Like I said, my first annual conference, I was 17 years old. I didn't even have age to vote yet. So for me, it's not about any such notions. When I entered, I said, look, I grew up by the bridge, Hospital Road, Fuasho, Old Mon Road was my area. I had dreams of the way I wanted my community to look like. My family, my mother's side is from Bassa Joseph. I have dreams of things I want to do in Castries South. And if there's anything that gets me going on a daily basis, is that desire to make Castries South better, and by extension, St. Lucia. And if that is done, I'm the happiest man alive. If I can help in transforming my constituency and my country. I've learned throughout my life to always work hard, strive for excellence, and give your best shot. And let that take you wherever it takes you. So in school, in the youth movement, the student movement, I have approached every responsibility the same way. And I will be working with the leadership, Philip J. Pierre, the leader, and other leaders of the party and members of the party to make sure we win the next election and to ensure that St. Lucia have a better government than what exists right now.
What's your relationship with Mr. Pierre and
I have an excellent, let me tell you, people say things and sometimes you just laugh and wonder. I've known Mr. Pierre for such a long time, even before he became a candidate. And we've had an excellent relationship. I mean, let me tell you, even all the comrades, we have, and if you look at it, we all grew up in the youth movement too, before we got into politics. I knew Sean Edwards long before he sports council. Gibo, I remember Gibo years ago in the youth movement. Musa, we all knew Musa as a drummer. They did drumming group from the south. We were not in politics yet. We knew each other. We grew up out of that community experience, community involvement, and we transitioned to politics. And we've known each other for years upon years. It doesn't mean we agree on everything, because we'll debate this, we'll debate that. And one thing, we came out of a tradition of debating. And anybody that knows NYC knew that our tradition was debating and challenging and standing up and giving your powerful speeches and presentation. That's the culture we grew up in, and we in a way transitioned to politics, and a lot of us still show off those skills and that kind of training. And we disagree, but we know we have one thing that always pushes us forward, and that is to win the next general election and to get rid of the United Workers' Party.
Although I prefer to hear from the chairman. Okay. No, but I just figure while you
We'll answer your questions. All of them.
while you are so fluid on that point, that maybe you could answer or pass it on to the chairman. Whether a change like what we saw from Alva to you, what was the basis of it? Was it strategic or was it performance?
Well, again, like I said, the National Council assessed the situation and decided, look, we are preparing candidates, we're preparing policy, we're preparing the best configuration, and let's move in that direction. The National Council in the next 3 years might change its mind and say, look, the circumstances are different. And I think that's the spirit in which all of us took it, that having done an assessment of the political situation, let us know. I know Comrade Alva is very well, and he's an extraordinarily talented individual. So, it's a question of National Council saying to the party, this is the direction we want to go in now. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I have two questions, one about education and one about culture.
Education.
We have seen this week another video of violence among school children. This is what some people would call one of our premier educational institutions. This raises again the topic of bullying in schools, etc., etc. I recently had a conversation with Ms. Catherine Seelys. She was very upset and angry about the lack of funding, the lack of resources for the Department of Human Services, the lack of accountability in general in the public service. People have said that the educational institutions are not keeping up with the time, not implementing positive discipline methods and methodologies that people learn when they go to teachers' college. So this is a policy question. How would a Labour Party administration address the gaping deficiencies in resourcing our social service institutions, and also making sure that the state-of-the-art pedagogical instructions that teachers get translates into teaching practice at the schools? That's one question. Should I give you a chance to answer?
I had to try to formulate the question in my mind as you spoke. Okay, first of all, it's a very, very good observation that you've made, and I think it's consistent with what is happening presently. The first problem that I cite as far as that is concerned is priority. I'll just use one word. It clearly tells you what the priority of the present government is. It tells you where education is placed in the pecking order. And not only education, healthcare, and other social services or matters that relate to the care and protection, especially of the vulnerable. Now, school children would definitely be part of that group. And if the government does not have education as a priority, I've said that at every opportunity that I've been given, that from 2016, this country has seen education as a side. I don't even have a word for it. It is clearly not a priority. So Arthur Lewis, in terms of the teacher training program, the program is virtually non-existent. They have reduced the training. The primary program, I don't think is being offered anymore. And so you find that the focus in our country for social services and education, including healthcare, is not there. So positive discipline is one of the areas that had started during the previous administration. The Child-Friendly School Initiative is one of those that comes under positive discipline. The Miku Secondary School, where I was principal, was the first secondary school to have piloted that program. And it is in line with the issue of dealing with avoiding punitive measures in dealing with student discipline, as well as promoting positive discipline and leadership in students. Now, bullying is an issue that has showed its ugly face in the past, and I believe that any serious government would have given more attention to such issues and put resources into it. I have heard a few things being mentioned here and there from the minister about training, but there is no specific policy position as far as the government is concerned about how we're going to invest in the things that affect our education system. So I think the observation that you've made is a very worthwhile one, but I can tell you from my standpoint that this government has not demonstrated that it's willing to put resources, money, and clear policy to address the problems and the concerns that we have in the education system. At least within the last 3 years, it hasn't happened.
Thank you for your observations on this current administration, but my question was about how an SLP administration would deal with these issues.
Well, first of all, it has to be a priority. Healthcare, education would have to be, and the political leader has made a reference to that in some of our town hall meetings, that would be on the front burner of the St. Lucia Labour Party's agenda when we win the next elections. So the attention that is being given to education will not be aside, but it will be priority. For example, we have pending issues with the school plants that we've heard about. We have issues with the planning. The Ministry of Education has a department for planning. We don't see any synthesis or any synergy between that and instruction. A Labour Party government will make education a priority. We were doing so in empowering our students. A lot of our initiatives were stopped, including the laptop program. We are going to demonstrate that education is not going to be treated as if it's just an afterthought, but it's at the front burner of our priority list. So I will re-emphasize the word priority. This is our position.
Culture? Yes. The recent news that the FRC's budget for Jeune Creole festivities had been significantly reduced, causing them to have to cancel the event in Choiseul, and then it's being replaced by an event St. Lucia activity in Vieux-Fort. I just wanted to, I guess maybe you might want to say it's a priority issue again, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on why do you think this may have happened. The Focus Youth Center submitted a particular budget that they needed to carry out their schedule of activities. The budget was returned significantly reduced. I think the executive director said by more than 50%. So just in the context of having cultural activities for St. Lucians to enjoy by St. Lucians, do you think that appropriate priority emphasis is being placed on that kind of thing vis-a-vis things that are produced mainly for the consumption of our visitors?
Well, it's very unfortunate that this situation exists with this year's Journée Creole activities. But in my view, the answer to this is very simple. The government, the United Workers' Party administration, has politicized the hosting of Journée Creole this year. The choice of Vieux Fort is very simple, very clear. The UWP has indicated that they want to make Vieux Fort the center for activities because they want to unseat Dr. Kenny Anthony. The choice of Vieux Fort South, once again, for the cultural activity, the Journée Creole, is simply that. Moving it from, Choiseul and insisting that, I think one minister indicated that for the next 50 or 99 years there will be those festivities in Vieux Fort. It is the same thing, DSH in Vieux Fort, because they believe that doing things like that will cause a political movement in Vieux Fort, because they clearly believe that what people of the South requires just this kind of activity. It's clearly that. I mean, we have heard a lot of this kind of thing in the hidden corridors, and they believe that that's the case. The Journée Creole as a concept and as an activity, over the years it has changed. It's become very commercial, and therefore governments have had to consider, and the FRC, they've had to consider space and the size of communities and so on. But Journée Creole should never reach a stage of where politics gets involved. Journée Creole has to be something community-based and something where people in local communities feel that they can display their heritage and what they contribute to national development. It is unfortunate that we have reached this stage. I surely hope that the people of Choiseul, although I'm from Vieux Fort, and it's easier for me to go to Vieux Fort South to celebrate Journée Creole, but if we look at this thing in a holistic manner, I certainly hope that the people of Choiseul can get an opportunity to pull together their community and to have something to host their own activities, for it is when the whole country comes together like this, we truly enjoy Journée Creole. People leave Castries or Gozili and travel down to Choiseul, purchase some crafts, some baskets, and maybe you hold an extra $50 to buy a coal pot or something. And that is the essence of Journée Creole. So I'm really hoping that the people of Choiseul can also join Vieux Fort and Gozili to celebrate Journée Creole.
Yeah. Can I just add something on that? I mean, just to reinforce what Honorable Moses was saying, just remember Journée Creole, how it started many years ago. A couple, three communities would host Journée Creole. It became so big, it almost started to become a community thing. So every community now having a Journée Creole with 2 or 3 feature communities. You go to a community, it is a village. The village setting, it's quaint, it's historical. They try to capture that in the essence of what Journée Creole is. Look at the 2 venues for this year. The Kakabef in Vieux Fort and the Promenade in Gozili. You can't find 2 more sterile settings for Journée Creole. Gone is the community setting where you see community life embracing Journée Creole. What does Journée Creole on the Promenade, surrounded by the Wasco sewer plants, the Beausejour cricket ground, what does that say about the essence of Journée Creole? And the Kakabef, which is again just concrete. I mean, what does that tell you about the thinking of the people who are directing those events? You've lost all the charm, all the appeal of a Journée Creole, and more so Journée Creole was a people's thing. It was the people. Now it's become a government thing. Not because FRC doesn't want to lead the people's expression, but the government is taking it over. When a minister can say, Vieux Fort will host Journée Creole for how many years to come? You ever heard that before? It really is supposed to be a people thing, and it moved from community to community. So, Honorable Moses is so right. There's a politicization of the selection of sites to host Journée Creole, and the people driving it have no sense or understanding, and I'm trying to be kind, of what the essence of Junior Creole is all about.
My question was actually a continuation of, well, an addition to what Jerry asked you before. You stated that there's no taking over of the party. However, like he mentioned, there have been whispers for years that you know it's only like this is what's coming, and so your recent election basically added fuel to those utterances. So, categorically speaking, should the opportunity present itself, would you contest the position of leader of the SLP?
I'm certain, categorically, that Philip J. Pierre will lead the Senatorial Labour Party into the next general election, God spare, and he will be the next Prime Minister of St. Lucia.
But would you consider the position?
No, I've just told you categorically, Philip J. Pierre will lead the Senatorial Labour Party, God spare, to be the leader and next Prime Minister of this country. And I have enough confidence in him. And I'll tell you something. You know, when you look around the Labour Party, we have so many persons, I believe, and our political is fond of saying it, every one of us probably will be a better Prime Minister than Alan Chasney, you know. And for us, you know, we are united. When we go wrong, I had constituency day yesterday and went around my constituents for the entire day. And I heard what people were saying, and Honorable Moses Jabati said it, how desperate our people are for health care, how desperate they are, you know, for them to receive quality health care. Like I said, not that we didn't have challenges before. Remember Romana Slansco having a walk for Victoria when we were little boys, raising money to deal with the challenge. We've had challenges before, but we have a crisis now of mammoth proportions. And St. Lucians are desperate for that. And we believe that, you know, we have to be able to replace the United Workers' Party government. It is a government for a few people who are benefiting. Plain and simple. 3 years ago, you had a commissioning plan, an implementation plan. You cast it aside. And then 3 years later, you go back to the same plan, with some of the same people, to do exactly what you could have done 3 years ago. And then you're crying. And you're crying. I mean, you know, the number of times the Prime Minister has cried, it almost makes you wonder whether he is regretting he's even Prime Minister. Because surely, I mean, every time you're crying, every problem they have, you're crying. We didn't elect a Prime Minister to be crying. We elected a Prime Minister to lead us, to inspire us, and to help us overcome our challenges. I'm not saying he should not cry. I think men should cry too. But you're not going to cry every time you're faced with a challenge. But there's one time he doesn't cry, huh? He's by the starting blocks for DSH. He's not crying. He's smiling. Air condition, carbot, he's smiling. And there's more to come when he'll be smiling. So my point is a very simple one. The Labour Party is preparing itself for the next general elections. And we are putting ourselves in the best position with the best personnel for us to win the next general elections.
Yesterday, Albert Baptiste was interviewed by Timothy Polion. And he, after stating that he supports the party constitution, the election and everything, he did say that given my assessment of the current political environment, in my soundness of judgment, I did not embrace the view that a contest would best serve our interests at this time, as it would require heavy political shelling, which for me would be divisive. Was there heavy political shelling, as he said, during the campaign?
National Council made his decision. He indicated in his assessment it was not the best, but National Council, which is like the elders of the party, the leaders of all the constituency branches, all the specialized officers, the leadership of the party, parliamentarians decided in their assessment that's where we should go. We respect that. And that's what it is. So anybody can have a different assessment, and they're fully entitled to do so. But we respect the decision of National Council.
You disagree with his assessment that it was politically divisive?
Let me tell you, I'm a servant of the Senatorial Labour Party. The Senatorial Labour Party takes its decision. I share my views, and when we have to move forward, we move forward. And that's how it is.
Still, SLP candidates in elections. Was a sort of surprise announcement in the north.
You know, there was a David mentioned, and for a while I thought it was probably you offering yourself as a candidate.
Where Mr. Sarah Prudent
yeah.
pulled out, but basically is the statement he made after that. He will not stay to help. He didn't say that he would stay to help the Labour Party and make sure. He said that he doesn't have anything to do with politics again for the foreseeable future. Giving the impression that he was disappointed with something from within. So, can you share with us why?
You know, that's the beauty of the Labour Party process. The beauty of the process. We do not just select somebody without any consultation. We tell people, you want to be a candidate, go on the ground. Go and reach out to people, talk to them, sell yourself, generate some excitement, mobilize people. And we stand back as a party and we watch what's going on. And everyone who is interested goes out to do that. So from what I saw in the video, he went out, he tested the ground, he reached out to people, and he did not feel satisfied that he can go forward, so he is withdrawn himself. And that's why we encourage people in the Labour Party to go out there in the constituencies and sell yourself and show you have the mobilizational skills, and the best usually rises to the top. So I'm very happy that he was interested in being a candidate for the Labour Party. I'm very happy he participated in the process. I respect his decision to pull out now and to allow others to continue. And I look forward to the selection of our candidate. I mean, if you go around Grosile, there's a lot of excitement on the ground in Grosile that augurs well for the party. So I believe, Grosile is a seat that the Central Labour Party will win at the next general elections. And, I have no doubts in my mind about that. And our process continues, and at the right time, we will choose the person the people on the ground suggest to us is the best person to be the candidate. So let me express my thanks to him for having been part of the process, and to wish him well on all his future endeavors. Yeah. Sorry?
I have a few more questions.
No. It's a press conference, so you could ask your question.
Albert Baptiste again was asked by Timothy yesterday, apart from supporting the process, do you support the individual who has emerged as the first deputy political leader? His response was, I don't think that is the practice of the party. The practice of the party is to respect the outcome of the democratic processes. What is your relationship like with Mr. Baptiste? That he would sort of not state openly that he supports the individual views.
Well, I don't think he said that he does not support me. I think he was making a very profound point. And I mean, we all know, Comrade Albert Baptiste, he's a profound person. I mean, he was saying, look, and I think probably the response probably flew over some people's head. He was saying, no, it's not about the individual who is there. The party has processes, the party has selected somebody, and I am part of the party and I respect party discipline. For me, it matters less who is there. What is important is that there's a deputy leader, and I respect that and I support that. And I think that's what I read from what he said. I didn't look for any machinations or any insidious implications or anything like that. I saw he's saying something which is very profound. And it is something I think all of us should be guided by. That, I respect the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. I respect that position. And I will always respect the position of Prime Minister of St. Lucia. It doesn't mean necessarily I'm going to personalize it. We look at the performance of people and we judge. And he was saying, look, I mean, it is not about the person. I mean, don't ask me whether I support the person or not. I support, that position in the party. The selection has been made by the National Council, and I'll be guided by it.
Has he called to congratulate you?
Well, we spoke after, we had our embrace, our hugs, and we shared our views to National Council moving forward. I shared my view, he shared his view. And, if Albert Baptiste calls me now and tells me he needs me in library, I will be there. I mean, I know I will need him in Castro, and I will call on him. And, there are a lot of little, all people looking for kind of conspiracies and things like that. I mean, I think our party for the last 20 odd years, especially under the leadership of Dr. Kenny Anthony, has matured and has disciplined itself in terms of an organization that can handle its business with some level of maturity. And I'm proud of the party and the way it's made its decision. And let me tell you, and just think about that. When in 2016, some of the comrades of the party thought I should also be in the leadership of the party, I did not win. But what did I do for the last 3 years? every single opportunity I got, I represented my party and my constituency with the greatest amount of commitment that I could. That did not deter me. That did not tell me, oh, Ernest, you didn't win, so not to cooperate, not to respect. No. Every time my party called me, I was there. Every time the leadership called me, I was there. Every time I had to represent my constituency, I did it, because that's what it is about. And all the other comrades have the same commitment and fervor to serve their constituency and the party, and that is what drives us. So we're not into the little conspiracies and whether this or that, it's not about that. We will have disagreements on policy, on strategy. We will argue, we'll probably debate about it. Maybe I'm more of a pragmatist than an ideological person. Somebody else might be more ideological than pragmatist. And we'll have those debates. But we are very focused in what we set out to do. I think the chairman wants to say something.
Now, I just wanted to say that I think Honorable Dr. Ernest touched on it, that it is not the first time we've had election for deputy leaders of the party. And the last time, Honorable Alva Baptiste beat Dr. Ernest Hiller. And this time around, Dr. Ernest Hiller beat Honorable Alva Baptiste. So it's not, the St. Lucia Labour Party has its processes, and we follow our processes. On the 13th of October, we will have our open session of our annual conference at Marigot. On the 20th of October, we will have our delegates conference. And we will also have elections at our delegates conference. So, we have processes, and we are following our processes, and we are ensuring that our party remains a democratic party, because we cannot govern in the way that we want to govern if we are not a democratic party. And as Dr. Ernest Hiller said, it's our tradition. We've had this tradition for a very, very long time. Sometimes people get, upset, and there are different views. We are all human, but the St. Lucia Labour Party as an organization has always triumphed. We've always maintained our processes, and we are proud to be part of an organization that has its processes. And this is what happened a few days ago. We had a process, and Honorable Dr. Ernest Hiller emerged as the first deputy leader. And in the next 3 years, we will have election of deputy leaders again. And who knows what will happen. So this is what it is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What are you doing now?